Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Joining me, as always, are my co-hosts for the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast, Rebellious D and Double OT, Terrific Trav. How you doing today, man?
Here.
Ready to rock, man. The usual.
I am always ready to rock. It is hot here in Virginia right now, and
as hot as yesterday.
It's not as hot as yesterday. But I did make it to the beach yesterday, so I was happy about that.
Yeah, this man eating sushi in 100-degree weather.
I'm
good on that.
Taking photos, you know what I'm saying? It was like the ending to a movie. It's just like you guys weren't there. But Trav, you could have picked up D because D, it was his anniversary the other day. And, it's just like you could have picked him up from where he was at and y'all could have landed on the beach and we could have chugged some root beer together.
Next time.
I'll
swing by and get the guest too.
Hey, you still got to pick up Ken Forey.
Right.
Oh, God.
But joining us today is somebody that is phenomenal, somebody that has worked on so many projects, Star Wars, Avengers, anything nerd related that I can name, he has run on this projects, and that is Mr. Darren Bailey. Can I call you D-Stick?
Yeah!
Hey, Darren D-Stick Bailey. Yes, sir. Let's go. How you doing today, Darren?
Good. It's nice to meet you. Thanks so much for having me on. This is a real treat.
Hey, you're welcome.
We like treats around here.
Yeah, we like treats around here. And I'm gonna go ahead and give a pinky up to Trav because your boy Benjamin Banks is the one that's always sliding in the DMs. But it's always nice when Trav, he's just like, hey guys, I got a guest. They're cool. I want to bring them on to the podcast. And me and D, we just like, all right, sure.
Hey, that's what I do. It's like when you invite a new friend to the friend group and you're like, guys, they're cool.
That's how we do it.
I know this one guy.
So, all right. So, funny story, real quick, before we get started. I just finished working out at the gym, and your boy was up there going hard, and I was finishing up with cardio. I was on the elliptical, watching My Hero Academia, D's favorite movie, Two Heroes, and I was at the end of the movie where they were fighting against I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway,
Oh, you're talking about the first movie?
Yeah, the first one. It's like
Metal
Wolf,
Mask.
Wolf or something.
Yeah,
so it's like, I'm sitting there doing my cardio. I'm going like 15 miles per hour up there. And it's just like, all of a sudden, like I just look down at my leg and I see that it's covered in soap. And I'm just like, how is my leg covered in soap right now? Like, I was embarrassed, but I thought it was funny at the same time. But I was a little bit mad at my tag partner, Diamond Victor Griff, because he came up to me and he was just like, yeah, man, you're soaked. And I thought that he said I was soaked, but he said that I was soaked. And so that happened to me at the gym.
That ever happened to you?
Very strange.
Yeah, has that ever happened to you? Have you ever been on set or anything? And then it was hot one day and you're sweating and you're just like, oh, wow, my clothes are soaked now.
Well, I mean, yeah, depending on whatever costume we're wearing. I mean, there's so much stuff we have to deal with, especially doing stunts. You're wearing stunt pads, elbow pads, and all other kind of stuff underneath your clothes, and so that adds to the heat a lot of times when we're doing shoots outside.
Well, I didn't mean, I don't know if y'all heard me. I didn't say soap like SOAK. I said soap. SOAP, like soap.
They had the soapy shorts.
I had soapy shorts on, and but anyway. Before we get into this interview, everybody that's watching, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And D, like you say every time,
as always, podcast also in the description, other episodes. Like, follow, subscribe to the channel, and thank you all for watching and listening.
That's right.
And Trav, your tip of the day.
Hey, make sure the shorts are washed in the washer completely.
I know.
Before you end up with soapy shorts at the gym.
Yo, when people saw the photo online, it was like,
I don't understand how you did it. I've been washing laundry for many moons.
Me too. I don't know. I did it on my own.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
So let's go ahead and get into this interview. So D-Stick, the first question that
sounds like a Marvel character.
It's so funny.
Like Puck.
No, yeah, kind of like Puck. Yep.
So the first question that we always ask here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks is, what is your origin story? Every hero or villain has one. So tell everybody who you are. Tell everybody your humble beginnings. I got to be specific about that because sometimes people are just like, are you talking about when I started doing what I was doing? Or do you mean like when when I landed here on Earth. So tell us, like, when you landed here on Earth, like, tell us the origin story.
Yeah, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. Born in '83. I grew up there. Went to high school there. Went to college at Miami University, Miami of Ohio, not Miami, Florida.
Oh, sorry.
And
what up to you?
Nope. Yeah, I was there during the Ben Roethlisberger era while he was our quarterback. Okay. And I studied theater, music, acting, and eventually found my way out to Los Angeles, where I am now in 2008 to pursue a career in entertainment. And that's the super duper short, boring. I don't know if I'm a hero or villain origin story. I didn't spin it one way or the other.
The mystery.
Anti-hero.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, some people walk that line like Daredevil.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Punisher. Yeah.
I play both.
Yeah, that's right.
Huh?
What was you about to say, Trav?
Huh?
You said, huh? I thought you
said
were
it twice.
I hit you with the huh?
Yeah. I was just gonna say some people always trying to ice skate uphill. That's all I was gonna say.
Oh
hey,
God. Yeah.
That's what happens. I need to know more about this. What is this Miami of Cincinnati? Like how did
Yeah. To Miami University is it's college founded in 1809 before Florida was even a state. So
okay.
We like to say we're the first Miami.
Okay. You don't play no games. Stay prepared.
Yeah. I was an art major actually when I first went there. I did drawing and very kind of photorealistic stuff for a long time, and then theater was just always in my blood, and had been doing plays and musicals and stuff for a long time. And so after a couple years, switched to theater and did a full 4-year program there. So I was in college for 6 years, and it was a good school. I'm not going to try to knock it or anything, but it was a liberal arts kind of education. So it wasn't like an acting specific school.
Gotcha.
So I knew that most of my education was actually going to come from working in the field and being on set and learning kind of the ins and outs of that. Knowing that I wasn't going into theater as a career, even though I still enjoy doing it from time to time. In order to pay the bills, I needed to get on set and work in film. That was always kind of where my passion was. As a kid, just watching movies, especially anything that had huge special effects. Special effects, I think, were kind of my in to wanting to work in the movies. There was something kind of magic about, seeing dinosaurs in Jurassic Park or Terminator or any of these old Stan Winston kinds of films, Industrial Light and Magic type of stuff was always the thing I knew as a kid I wanted to surround myself with.
I want to piggyback.
Hang on.
Hang on.
Let me take this one. I just want to. I'm approaching you. No, I just want to ask before we get too far away from it. Darren, is art still something that you're passionate about now? Do you ever just sit and doodle sometimes, or?
You know what? The only time that I find myself diving into art in that way anymore is when I'm storyboarding some of my own stuff. I think I've lost some of the drive, I guess, that came from just putting thoughts and images onto a page, and now that comes out performatively.
Got it.
But I still appreciate art, and I still love art, and I'm critical of it. And if anything, it's given me a good eye for composition when it comes to framing, working with directors of photography, and kind of knowing composition is very important to me when I'm creating my own content.
Gotcha. All right, big guy, take it away.
No. Before I ask my next question, I was just gonna ask you, because you had mentioned Jurassic Park. Now, were you one of those type of people where whenever you would hear loud noises after watching the movie, you would think that dinosaurs were around the corner?
No, but funny enough, with Jurassic Park, I have a very special relationship with that movie. I'm like the same age as Joseph Mazzello, who played Timmy in that movie. Was within 2 weeks. Now, I didn't know that as a kid. I just knew that this kid's about the same age as me when I went to see it at 9 years old. And And so immediately after watching that movie, I remember like looking at my parents and saying, I need to take acting classes. I want to do what that kid does. I have to go to school, but that kid gets to like play with dinosaurs. You know, I knew it was a set and it was all fiction and stuff, but there was something that was just so appealing. And I got put into a youth like acting program that same summer. When I graduated high school, and we had to fill out kind of our senior newsletter where we see ourselves in 10 years. A lot of the people in Ohio were they had their measure of success, you know, married, living in a big house, big driveway, basketball hoop in the yard, you know, that kind of measure of success. And I was like working in Hollywood with Steven Spielberg. This is my dream. This is what I'll do. And then when I came out here, I started working background work just to kind of establish myself, learn what it was like to be on set. And I worked on the Pacific HBO miniseries, which
Such
was,
a good series.
Yeah, it was produced. Band of Brothers is like my favorite thing ever made. So to work on the Pacific was really cool. That's produced by Spielberg and it stars Joseph Mazzello. And it was just really kind of cool that within this 10-year period, I had some measure of fulfilling that dream. Yeah. And then I started working a day job at a place called Stereo D that does 3D stereoscopic conversion for a lot of big films. That's pretty cool. In 2013, Jurassic Park was re-released in 3D in theaters. That was the day that I got hired and was walking and being shown, hey, here's where you're going to be sitting. Here's what we're working on. We were working on Jurassic Park. I was like, I'm working on Jurassic Park, like the movie that made me want to even get here. And it was just this kind of full circle moment. And then we did Ready Player One a few years later. And I was
one of my favorite all-time
one of Spielberg's liaisons. And so I got to have a one-on-one relationship with Spielberg. And it was just,
crazy.
It was just one of these kind of like hat tip things of knowing that you're at the right place at the right time, doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's amazing.
And my mind's blown right now.
Yeah. I mean, and I always think that it's funny how when there's something that like you watch when you were younger, or you know, like a video game or something you played, and then if something gets re-released or something, and then you get to work on that, if you're in that field, because like with me, like, I'm a professional wrestler. I said it, Trav, and I do this dance called the Money Shuffle, and the Money Shuffle is based off of Teddy Long, who, you know, he's a WWE legend, WCW. He was a huge manager back in the 90s and stuff like that. And he used to do this dance whenever he would come out on stage. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to take that dance and I'm going to make it my own. I'm going to put my own little twist on it. So, you know, fast forward a few years later, and I'm at a show with Teddy Long, and I tell him the same story I'm telling you, and I'm just like, hey, I would be honored if we could do our dances together. And he's just like, sure. So, I mean, it's like, you never know how the universe is going to work and where it's going to take you, and, you know, who you're going to meet in life and whatnot. And I think that that's really cool that when you watch Jurassic Park, when you were that age and you saw what he was doing, it's just like, man, like, you know, this is something that I want to do. And now something I want to ask you now is, I saw that you co-founded a martial arts production team, and I just love the name 1,000 Pounds Action.
You know who that reminds me of? Zorro. Zorro has a move called I think it's 1,000 Pound Phoenix or something like that. But it's cool. I thought immediately when I saw that, I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that name comes from there's an old like Tai Chi Kwan proverb that talks about 1,000 pounds of force can be redirected by 4 ounces of force. Right. So it was this whole kind of like throwback to that. But yeah, that was
it's an amazing spin. I like
some friends from college we were all now living out in LA, and you know, figuring out how do we make our own projects, what should we do to like stay viable while we're working for other people. And we just kind of like met in a park and made some fun videos, testing out some visual effects. Chris Cowan, who is now like a huge action designer and DP, he did a bunch of the action on like Shang-Chi and Rogue One, The Kingsman, and Von Zell Carter was the other one. And the 3 of us just kind of met and formed this thing, and then it blew up to become this huge viral piece. We started making Street Fighter fan films and Naruto. We did a really popular thing called Naruto Dreamers Fight, which was like Naruto and Rock Lee fighting in the desert. This 20-minute film. Yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, because we're interviewing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember seeing that when I was a young Benjamin. I mean, I'm still a young Benjamin.
Yeah. It was, we were pretty active from around 2010 to 2013. And it was just one of those things where we did it for ourselves, just as fans, but also just to kind of like learn how to be better filmmakers. And you catch fire just making the right niche that somebody's looking for. Oh, wow, you can do an anime style thing in real life. It is possible. Look at these guys. Maybe Hollywood can follow suit. And you do something like that, and then Hollywood, funny enough, takes notice, and they find you, and they contact the people on those types of things making that content and bring you into the fold because it's going to make their project better. So one of the reasons we split is everybody on our team kind of had some measure of success in the industry as a result of making our own content. So I always tell people, like, yeah, it's one thing to have an idea, but like you have to just go out and make something. You're gonna fail. It's not gonna be great when you first start off. You're never gonna make the perfect project. But you have to make something so that you can then be better and learn from it on the next project. But
you gotta get your feet moving.
Yeah,
you're always leveling up. It's experience points.
Leveling up. That's it.
I just wanted to touch on this. As somebody, we go to cons and things like that and participate in cosplay, and that's something I've learned. I'm a bit of an artsy person myself, but I've learned to sew and work with different adhesives, but it doesn't have to be right the first time. You have to start with something. So I kind of understand what you mean by that. Just sometimes you got to put yourself out there in order to get somewhere. So, I feel like a lot of people could learn from just doing that. Don't take the pressure off and just make something,
totally.
And see how it goes. Yep. So
some people, I get people who are very green and not understanding where do I start? What equipment do I need? I'm like, you have a phone, you have a camera right now. If you want to like make something, find some piece of film or whatever that you like, an action scene or whatever the thing is, recreate shot for shot that exact same thing, so you can understand why is this edited this way, why this frame, why this angle. You're going to start learning a lot more about how to be a better filmmaker, designer, whatever, performer. It doesn't matter. But getting out there and just trying to do something is better than sitting around talking about it.
Exactly. And you know what's crazy? I say that every time, like when I'm at the gym, like when people ask me for advice or something like that, I tell them, it's like, as long as you try to do it, like even if you do 2 reps on something, that's still better than not doing anything at all. And then the next time you do it, you may be able to do 3 reps. You'll be able to do 4, but you have to keep on going. You have to keep on trying. You got to keep pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you give up, then, it's not meant for you. But at least if you do give up, at least you can say that you tried.
Exactly.
I've never been one of those type of people to knock anybody for, wanting to try, because sometimes it's like people, they have to try to see if this is even something that they want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. That was like me even in college. Like I knew I loved art and I knew I loved acting, but when I entered school and you kind of have to pick your degree, I didn't know which was the better thing. And I was told by my counselor at the time, why don't you be an art major? Because you don't have to be a major to audition for the plays that we're going to be doing at school. You can still do that theater work as a non-major. I said, hey, that's great. I didn't realize how much time and money and effort being an art major was actually going to be when it came to buying supplies and staying overnight to like in the art building, working on whatever these designs, and then getting graded. And especially when I would get like low grades on abstract art or something, I couldn't wrap my head around, how do you grade art? How do you judge it? And so I left. It wasn't a couple years wasted. To me, it was, I learned my passion lies in the performative thing, and I'm glad that I had both of those skills. I'm glad art taught me in a weird way that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Circling back to y'all doing like the Naruto stuff, as toxic as the internet can be, it's also a good tool to just put stuff out there and people take notice. And I mean, I believe his name's Adi Shankar.
Oh yeah.
He's a producer, and he did the Power Rangers thing, 10 years ago, and then he was producing on movies, and now he did the Guardians of Justice, and he's got a PUBG show coming out. Same thing happened with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air thing that got put on YouTube. They took notice. It became a real show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you just never know where that's going to take you.
Yep.
Because
You
it
never
can
know.
blow up, go viral.
Exactly. If you hold you and the people you're working with accountable for being your best, sky's the limit. That's a tough thing to navigate too, because a lot of times you can be working with friends who might be really, really good friends, but creatively holding you back in some way. And so you have to start kind of figuring out who are the people I need to surround myself with so I can be my best, while still having a personal, familial relationship with people around me who are supporting those projects.
Got to find that chemistry.
Yeah.
Right. Now, a question I want to ask you is, you said you moved out to LA and you kind of got this job doing the 3D stuff. How do you land a job like that when I don't know if you had some sort of work like that in college that helped you get into that job, but how do you land something like that?
I came from like retail management and working in warehouses at appliance and electronic stores, sporting goods stores, customer service kind of stuff. I was that guy, just hustling, always working. And funny enough, one of the writers from 1,000 Pounds happened to be working as a recruiter at Stereo D at the time that I was looking for a new job. And so I came from his personal recommendation and pretty much got hired on the spot.
So once again, the universe working,
exactly,
guiding you where you needed to be.
Exactly.
The ether. That's right.
It's never
the multiverse.
The multiverse
of madness. So now I wanted to ask you, because you've had your hand in like so much stuff with doing stunts, the visual effects, and acting. Which one do you like doing more?
Acting's always been my passion. It's truly what I think about like 24/7. It's like a blessing and a curse. I can't watch a movie without dissecting it during the watch. It's like being a true viewer is kind of foreign to me now.
Yeah, I'm like that with music.
And I'm like that with wrestling. It's hard, man, especially because of the pandemic. Like I wasn't wrestling, and I'm just sitting at home and I'm just watching stuff, and I'm just like, oh man, I don't want to be one of these type of people where it's like I'm just sitting at home watching wrestling and critiquing everything, because I kind of feel like that. I mean, it's just like it's okay to critique stuff because it's just like you can pick stuff apart, but at the same time, I feel like you start becoming bitter, which I've seen happen to some guys, unfortunately.
Now, I gotta ask. We figured out what your favorite part is, D-Stick. I gotta ask, when doing stunts, do you ever see anybody have to stop and kind of build themselves up for the moment of what they may have? Yeah, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's stunts is one of those things where it's like we take it very seriously.
Of course. It's
how to do the most terrifying stuff with the most preparation. And a lot of that just comes from training and repetition. But there is always going to be some kind of conquering your fear thing. But when you have especially if you're working on something that has a big budget, there's so much money and time and effort poured into the execution of that stunt that you can have all the nerves in the world, but once you hear that, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. I mean, it is something clicks in you that is animalistic in some way, and it pushes you to do that thing, and you hope that all that training will keep you safe. You hope the stunt coordinators and the team behind you will be keeping you safe, and that's just the nature of it. You're going to come away bumped and bruised a lot of times, but
nature of the beast.
You try to minimize that so that you can work the next day.
Got it. All right.
That makes me want to ask then, how do you feel about actors doing their own stunts? Because I know me as kind of like a mix engineer, it could be, a lot of these artists, to save money, they'll like want to mix their own stuff. And, how do you feel as that kind of being your bread and butter? You'll see the videos of Tom Holland, and Tom Holland looks great doing all that stuff. But how do y'all feel as stunt people? Do you ever feel like they're kind of like that's your job and they're kind of taking it away from you
No,
guys?
no, I don't feel like they're taking our job. Like, we're there to support the team. We're there to be called upon when needed, when it makes sense for production and insurance to not use the performer.
Mm-hmm.
If a performer is able to do the thing that they're being asked to do, especially like in Tom Holland's case, like, here's a guy who has studied martial arts and gymnastics, and of course you want to see that guy in the suit. That's your Jackie Chan, hey, it's really me kind of moment, you know. So as much as they can do that makes sense for them to do, I'm all for it. Stunt people have a lot of respect for actors who are really good, you know, like a Keanu Reeves or something who studies the hell out of whatever they're doing. Tom Cruise, you know, these people aren't people that we dismiss. We really look up to those kinds of actors who put in the actual work to be good at what they do, because it only makes us look good too.
Right.
And a lot of times these stunts won't just be doubling; it'll be maybe the person that you're fighting opposite. It's like, so
gotcha.
If I have a fight partner, I want to make sure that partner is also going to be at their best. And if that happens to be the actor and they're as good at throwing hands as any of the stunt people that I might be working with, that's awesome. Hands. That's great.
Yeah. Now, yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, because to piggyback off of the whole stunt stuff, like, how do you feel when actors, because I remember it was X-Men Apocalypse, and I remember Olivia Munn had come out and said that she performed all her own stunts in the movie and whatnot. And, you know, back then when I had read it, I was like, oh, wow. So, you know, she did all her stunts, then, like, did she not have any stunt people? And then I remember, like, years later seeing that she did actually have stunt people in the movie. And I was just like, well, then why would you say online and in interviews that you were doing your
Is it a twist of words, I think?
Yeah, is it a twist of words? Like, because I feel like it kind of it doesn't give the stunt people their just due. Because it's just like, it's cool that you did your own stunts, but it's just like, hey, at least acknowledge us and let people know that it's just like, like, we were here too.
That's it. You know, it's a two-sided coin. It's like we appreciate actors who can perform like that, but obviously if you didn't do something, don't say you did. But then there's been this long-standing illusion which goes back to old Hollywood, even silent films, where it was the stunt person's made to look like the actor's really doing their thing. We all know stunt people. It was stunts isn't a mystery anymore, right? But there's still this weird kind of stigma that's attached to that, and you have some veteran stunt performers who they don't want to be in the limelight. They don't care if the actor says that thing. My job is to just double. I don't want any special attention. But when you're putting your life on the line to make art, it is at this point now where there's been a big push to get some kind of recognition, especially from the Academy. You know, there's no best stunt coordinator awards or anything. I mean, every trailer you see for every movie is showing you what the stunts are. That's what's getting butts in the seats. You see something like Mad Max winning all kinds of awards, and there's no recognition of stunts, and it doesn't. What is that movie without that? So there's this kind of need for acknowledgement, at least, just to have a seat at the table and as part of the team. And I think we're getting closer and closer to that. So as long as actors aren't stealing the thunder, you know, that's really all we want. We just want to be included in those conversations.
Well, then you got some.
Yeah, and you know, to piggyback off of what you had just said, because I know that you know, that was one of the things with WWE a couple of years ago when they created the Warrior Award, and you know, when Ultimate Warrior was still alive, rest in peace. You know, he wanted that award to be for the people that don't get that acknowledgement, the people that, you know, make the music for the wrestlers, the people that, you know, do the sewing for the wrestlers and stuff like that. There are so many people that do so many things, whether it be little or big, and they don't get that acknowledgement. So I feel like that there should be something at these award shows or something where it's just like, you know, you guys get acknowledged, you guys get rewarded, because if it wasn't for you guys, then, you know, all of these cool things that you see on the big screen, they wouldn't be there. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
And, everybody can't do their own stunts. Nope. Just like everybody can't wrestle. It's like people say that they want to do it, but they can't do it.
One thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Trav.
One thing through all of Disney's faults as a company, one thing I really like that they're doing is every time one of these Marvel or Star Wars shows end, they do the whole behind the making of it episode, and it's a good hour plus long, where you're really seeing how they're making these shows and how they're doing the stunts. And I remember watching the Falcon Winter Soldier one where it's just mind-blowing how they can create these scenes with a green screen and a little bit of stuff, and then they create all this stuff with computers and stuff. It is absolutely mind-blowing, because when you see the credits at the end and there's 5, 6, 7, 800 people on these credits, you're like, well, when you watch that, you get it, because it's an insane amount of stuff that's going on.
Yeah, especially in stunt. I mean, it's months and months of prep before shooting, and then even after, even in post-production, a lot of times they'll bring in action people to, sometimes if you're lucky, to look at the edit, because an editor might not have the same eye for what action is, which cut hides a punch the best, which angle makes it look. They might pick the wrong things, so to speak, and so getting an action designer to be part of the post-production has become a more common thing as well. It's funny that you mentioned the Winter Soldier thing, because when we were doing 1,000 Pounds, one of our team members, James Young, was called upon to create a fight audition for that movie in secret, and it was the scene with Captain America fighting all the guys in the elevator. And so
such a good scene.
He pitched that to Marvel, shot it in the gym, and then he got the job. And so he was the fight designer and stunt double for Winter Soldier on that movie. So it's just really cool. We have like this, and that movie kind of set the standard for action design in superhero movies moving forward. And so special shout out to James Young from 1,000 Pounds.
Oh yeah.
In some way, creating some little step stool to help define what action is in Hollywood now. It's really cool.
I think that's cool too, that you got the group of friends and then y'all were working in the same field but kind of different things in the same field, and everybody went on to have their own success with it. It's just cool. Kind of like music that happens with musician bands a lot, where bands kind of break up but they all go on and have success in their own little way.
Some do.
But then when they come together like the Avengers, that's right. But no, something I wanted to say before we moved on, because D, I know that you've been wanting to ask a question too. We interviewed Renes Rivera, and he was on Falcon and Winter Soldier. And make sure that you check out that interview. It is up here on our YouTube. He's a really awesome guy, and we hope to see him play Rhino one day in MCU. But I did have one more stunt question, but before I ask that, D, go ahead and take the floor.
Okay. So I wanted to just one thing I wanted to mention was, do you think people like Jackie Chan kind of opened the door more when he was openly doing his own stunts for years? Do you think that kind of encouraged more actors to do it?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. Jackie, especially as movies like Rumble in the Bronx.
And
my favorite. One of the best.
First Strike, like Super Cop, all that stuff that became really popular here in America, that inspired an entire generation of performers to really start doing their own stuff. And Hollywood took notice of the popularity of Jackie Chan, and for sure was trying to cast actors who could do some similar things to that. We started getting a lot more shots of actors in frame showing, hey, this is really this person doing this stuff. A lot of that's digitally manipulated now with face replacement technology.
Right.
But
you saw that with the new season of Boba Fett. When they shot all the stuff, and then they both shot all the same scenes and then digitally imposed, and that stuff's crazy now. It's crazy what they can do. But before you ask that question, Bangs, I just want to make a comment on this new Top Gun coming out, and you mentioned Tom Cruise earlier, and I just thought this was hilarious that the Navy ended up denying Tom Cruise this, but he legitimately wanted to fly in a real jet with the United States Navy, and they were like, hell no, dude.
We don't care who you are.
But it's just wild how dedicated Tom Cruise is to these Mission Impossible and Top Gun and
totally.
He gives a lot to the Mission Impossible, man.
Yeah.
Well, if nothing else, your boy's cardio is on 100. If nothing else, because he
look at him, man. Hey, dude don't even look like he's the age that he looks. You know what I'm saying?
It's that spellcraft.
Come a long way from Interview with a Vampire.
Hey, that's a good movie. Hey, don't crap on
no, it's a great movie. I'm
just
just saying, Tom Cruise in the early 90s versus Tom Cruise now, it's a completely different. He's
he found his niche.
Career.
Yeah. I can give you that, Trav.
Yeah. But Darren, I wanted to, piggyback because it's kind of similar to what D was asking, and this is my final question for the stunt work. He mentioned what was it that inspired you, and you with Jackie Chan and whatnot. And I want to know, because you said it blew up, like what was it that made you want to get into doing stunt work? I mean, you were doing martial arts and stuff like that. Like, what led you to want to do that?
It's one of the first jobs I remember as a kid telling my parents I wanted to be, even before acting. Actually, I remember, and I think it probably came from Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, and just seeing that stuff, going out in my yard and fighting invisible putties, just like
it was punching the Z.
Totally, that kind of stuff. I was just like, it was the fun nature of what stunts was. I would I'd rake a pile of leaves and stand on top of my mom's car and like jump off and flip into these pile of leaves. I would do all this kind of gymnastic stuff growing up, and so it was just kind of this thing that was just always the physical play nature of what stunts was always so cool to me. And it's funny how acting ended up kind of leading to stunts. And once we did 1,000 Pounds, I'm not like a great martial artist or anything by any means, but I had enough that I could, the right camera angles and stuff could make me look good. And working opposite the right performers, as a wrestler, like can make you look really, really good if somebody else knows what they're doing. So it's funny, it created like a backdoor into the stunt industry for me because of the association that people had with that team and wanting to work with all of those team members, myself included. And so now I'm getting a little further away from stunts, or I'm doing occasional stunt coordinating because I don't have to be the one performing, and really just kind of tapping back into my purely acting roots. But it's nice to know as an actor that if I'm asked to do something, more than likely I can keep myself safe. And if it's something I haven't tried before, car hits and fire burns or whatever, I don't need to be the guy doing that. I'm happy to bring in one of my friends to double me and do something.
Now,
I feel that.
Darren, now I'm glad you brought that up. With you working and actually doing stunts, not just coordinating and just like doing just storyboard and stuff, you've actually been out there and done some of this stuff. Does it give you a better perspective and respect for the people that actually do stunts opposed to someone who's just directing and never touched it?
Totally. And I'm such I'm professional in the sense that I've gotten paid, but I'm still I would consider myself like an amateur person. I am not working on the big studio films doing stunts. Almost everything that I do is on an indie short film, music video, small level, right? And I've made a name for myself in those communities. When it comes to like indie film in Los Angeles, there's a good chance I'm going to be a middle person to connect a lot of other people out here. When it comes to all the big studio projects, that's not where I tend to work in. Right. And it's not necessarily my goal. That's a different level of mentality to be that kind of stunt person who is, I mean, you are drilling everything you're doing in the gym every day, really, really pushing yourself. And so that's just being an actor and being a writer and producer and motion capture performer, so many other things. That's just not been my be all end all goal, Right. So, but I'm attached to the industry. I support anything stunt related, know all those top stunt performers, and we'll always sing their praises when I can.
Hell yeah.
Now, before we move on to like the visual arts and stuff, I want to ask you, because you did the Naruto video. Is that one of your favorite animes, or Tell me, what are some of your favorite?
I know you guys. I mean, look at your wall. I know you guys are huge anime. I was not a big anime person growing up. Outside of just the popular stuff that was on like Cartoon Network, obviously like some Dragon Ball stuff, but I was kind of forced because of the people around me, especially in 1,000 Pounds, who were like as nerdy as you can get. I needed to develop that same appreciation because that's now the medium that I was working in. So I did my research watching at least Naruto. I didn't go through Shippuden. But I did watch Naruto up to where we were going to be setting our fight scene, which was kind of during the Pain Saga. And, I still struggle sometimes trying to get into anime. There's so much out there, and I'm such a cinephile that when it comes to me looking at some new show and seeing a daunting, it's only 438 episodes, it's kind of like, okay, well, how many movies, how many foreign films or things from the AFI top 100 list,
right
that's kind of the education that I find myself in, and the dilemma. So something's really got to hook me if it's going to ask that much time of me, and that's always been my struggle with anime. The shorter stuff like Cowboy Bebop and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, that kind of stuff is really enjoyable.
Well, I have an anime that I want to recommend to you, D. I think that you were probably going to say the same thing. If you like Cowboy Bebop, I highly recommend The Great Pretender. It's on Netflix. It has Cowboy Bebop vibes.
Great.
It's only 25 episodes.
Hey, that sounds great. I'm writing it down.
If you, like I said, if you love Cowboy Bebop, if you ever watch Lupin the Third,
it's very Catch Me If You Can.
Yes. It's very
very heisty show.
Yeah, pulling heist, and it's like I want to say for the first season, it's just like you have 4 episodes of them in a different part of the world trying to do a heist. And also too, everybody that's watching, we interviewed the main cast from The Great Pretender, and you can watch those videos here on YouTube, or you can listen to them on the podcast. Hey, I got to drop the plugs because that's what
right. And being a big, I'm also a huge cinephile. I find it hard having to balance my anime watching versus my film watching and getting my letterbox reviews in, and I just saw Men, the new Alex Garland film.
I saw it last night.
I saw it last night too. Man. Oh man, we love A24, and I feel like I'm so glad that I saw your A24 pass that you got. Trust me, I know how much you're a big A24 fan you are. But I love right now because we're all roughly the same age. We're all in our 30s, and I feel like what other people felt like when Miramax was coming up and Pulp Fiction was coming out. Like Miramax was that cool new studio coming out where directors could go balls to the wall and do whatever they want. A24 is that film studio, and I'm glad as an adult I'm getting to witness that. That come up, that surgence of the crazy, and it's only getting crazier and crazier. And Men has the craziest third act I've seen this year. It's wild, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah. They just made that announcement that Everything Everywhere All at Once is the highest.
Domestically.
Yeah, and that's good. And that film was amazing.
Yeah, really, it's my favorite film of the year so far. So.
Yeah, but now taking it to the visual effects stuff, like how was it? Like, what led you to want to do that stuff?
So I'm not a visual effects artist. So just want to clarify that. So I was working at the studio. I was like an operations coordinator. So I was doing a lot of the ins and outs of keeping the studio running smoothly, supporting the artists and producers with whatever needs they had, doing different drives to the studio when we would be delivering like DCP content or picking up checks, a lot of like running around supply orders. So it's just kind of like the behind the scenes stuff and not necessarily working directly on a shot for a specific move. So every once in a while they throw me a credit up there on screen for something, but just to clarify that, I was more like I was adjacent to that stuff. But still, it was a good learning experience to see that side of the industry and to know how many hundreds of visual effects artists it takes to make something. And just like we were talking about acknowledgement for stunts, that comes to visual effects artists as well. There's so many people behind the scenes making this stuff that'll never get recognition, who are, I'm talking like some of the best artists I've ever seen in my life. Even just like doodling on their lunch break, you're going, what? You made that? And you're just this like cog in this wheel of this other big machine. Like, it's amazing. So, yeah, I just love film for that community aspect of it. And it also, it's very humbling as an actor, where it's easy to know you're the center of the attention, because all the lights, the sound, the design, the shot, everything's about you being in the frame and your performance. But at the end of the day, like, you're just a part of a team making something. So I've dropped any and all the vanity that comes along with acting, and working behind the scenes on so much stuff has given me that clarity, that's really helped take a lot of pressure off myself as a performer too.
And I love that Elizabeth Olsen's come out recently and been like, it's not even, when I know I also think people twist what other directors say, like Ridley Scott, who's my favorite director of all time, and Marty, who is God, when it comes to directing films. I think sometimes it's twisted a little bit, but for her to come out and be like, it's not even so much of me feeling disrespected, it's all these people that work behind the scenes to make those movies possible, that you're disregarding the hours and talent and work that they put in for you to get that product.
I saw you guys,
go for it.
where you were talking to a really good friend of mine, Nick Apostolidis from Resident Evil 2. Funny enough, I helped him get that audition. He came to me when he was auditioning for that. It was like, hey man, I got this big thing coming up. I need you to read some lines. I got a lot of questions. So we did. He was doing some scene where he was Leon and I was playing Ada, actually, for this scene. And we were working on some stuff together. And to see him book that, it felt really, really rewarding. But there's a question you were asking him about on that episode where where was I going with it? We were just talking about it. God, I can't believe I'm like losing my train of thought just now.
It happens.
We're shocked you even heard it. You know what I mean? So we're just here like,
that's.
Well, while you're thinking about that, Trav, plug the episode. Please. Plug the episode, Trav.
Oh yeah, we did interview Nick Apostolidis, right when Resident Evil 2 came out, but most importantly, and you'll attest to this since y'all have a relationship. When me and Banks talked to him, Nick was so given to us, like he took our phone numbers, he called us on the phone, talked to us on the phone, planned out the interview, like, hey, this is what I kind of want to do, like very hands-on, really giving something that nobody ever has to do, to just come on here and talk to us for 40 minutes. And he's an incredible artist too, as you've seen, going back to the art stuff. His art is really, really incredible. And, he does commission pieces, and it's cool to see him come up. And now he did the movie, on Netflix and stuff like that. So I'm glad that you got that connection with him. That's cool.
We're close friends. We've made fan content. We did like a Hunger Games fan film years ago. And we just talked last week. Really want to create something together. But I remember what we're talking about. You had asked him about watching himself, and is he able to watch his own performance, where some actors say like, I can't watch myself. And that's always felt a little like vain to me, where it's almost saying that you're more important than all the other people who have made the thing. Like, I watch myself obviously to get better, like Nick said too, and learn what I'm doing, but I'm also watching it as a fan to see what all these other people have been creating around me, what the colorist is doing, what the editors do, what the sound designers, like, there's so much stuff that I wasn't a part of in the making of something, that's like, I want to support their work. And that's why I watch my own content too, is I want to see the whole picture. How did I fit into this thing? So yeah, I've never understood the whole, I'm too good to watch myself. It's too weird. I can't look at my own performance. It's always struck me as weird.
It's kind of weird too. It's like if you were a seamstress, you know what I'm saying? And you made something. It's like, I'm not going to look at it. I can't look at it.
I don't want to see you wearing it.
I can't, it's kind of weird actually, if you think about it, in any art background. It's like you kind of have to critique yourself to get better, or face the music, if you will. You have to. So.
I know that specifically Adam Driver, he's one. I don't know if that's, kind of what, if he was somebody you were thinking of, but Adam Driver specifically always says he doesn't watch.
Joaquin Phoenix is one of the big names.
And I think it's because he thinks that he sucks. Like,
that's what I think all
the time. Every time that he watches something, clearly he doesn't suck. You know what I mean? But I think it's weird too. It would be like me not listening to songs that I mix for other artists. Like, why wouldn't I listen to it?
Some people get in their heads. I can't say that much.
Yeah, because the thing is, even when I wrestle a match and like I'll watch the footage back, and I'm just like, okay, like that was good, but every time, like I feel like I don't want to watch it because I'm just like, man, I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna think that I suck and I'm gonna be down on myself because a lot of people, and Darren, I'm pretty sure that you experience this too. Like they'll blow smoke up your ass and they'll make you feel like they, hey, you killed it, you did this, you did that, and then you be like, man, I know I could have did better, like all this other stuff. And then when you watch it, you're like, oh, okay, like I really did do that. But it's just something that I picked up on over the years. It's just like you have to be careful who you listen to, what they tell you. Because it's like a lot of people, it's just like they just be saying stuff just to say stuff, and then you think that you might be good at something, but you're not.
But the more you train in your craft, you're going to be objectively better at understanding whether craft is good or not.
Right.
So you being a better wrestler, you're going to look at your own material now differently than you did if you were to watch a clip of yourself from 10 years ago. It's like, but as long as you can watch the clip and go, you know what, I did the best I had with the tools at that time, and I've grown so much since then it makes it easier to look at old stuff like that. So, and I wrestle with that too, where it's like, I don't want to show people a lot of old films that I've done because I'm a different performer. I've matured now, but that's also not fair to young Darren, who was working his ass off to make that thing at that time. So it's
never forget where you came from.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe that's just the catch of being an artist. Is we're striving to be better, but as we're doing that, we're also learning more about the craft, and you can't help but be critical.
That's right.
Yeah, and then I feel like people, because there was a situation where somebody that is a really bitter old wrestler here in our area, he had posted a video of me when I first started in the wrestling business, and of course, I sucked. And now looking at me, it's just I'm 10 times better than what I was when I first started. But it's just like when I saw the video, I was just like, man, like I've come a long way, And it's just it's funny. Like I said, people can be bitter, people can be spiteful and whatnot, and I'm just like, oh, well, I guess like he was trying to post a video of me to make fun of me and whatnot. But it's just like, that was when I first started in the business. And like, I don't care who watches the video and, sees where I was. The only thing that matters is what I'm doing now. And from what I'm doing now, like your boy is killing it. So that's what people have to do in order to make themselves feel better, then more power to them.
Correct. That's exactly how you treat it.
And D-Stick, we're coming toward the end of this, and D always has his final wrap-up questions, but I want to ask you something as a good lead-in to that. Is we didn't really we can't talk about everything. Your career, you've done so much stuff, unfortunately, but
unfortunately.
But no, I do want to ask you, since you're really starting to get back to your acting roots, and I know you're doing a lot of horror producing. We've really talked about popcorn movies, quote unquote, Jurassic Park, the Marvel stuff, and we talked a little bit about A24 and Men and Alex Garland and stuff. But I really want to lead into Dee's question, talk about this horror stuff, that like your love for horror and what kind of horror, and because we're all big horror guys too.
Yeah. My taste lies a lot with like psychological horror, a lot of like suspense, even as a kid, Hitchcock was a huge influence on the stuff that I really responded well to. When I first saw The Shining, I was kind of blown away by what you could do, especially like with symmetry in that movie. That symmetry became terrifying. And so that's the horror that I lean into, as much as I like appreciate a lot of like practical gore and some of the like the more fun torture porn kind of stuff. Like that's not story wise, narratively. That's not as interesting to me as something like the dinner table scene in Hereditary.
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff is just so unsettling.
Absolutely.
And there's a real craft in making something like that scary. That the stuff that I tend to produce leans more into the psychological terror.
As I've gotten older, I'm sorry, D. As I've gotten older, that like as a kid, I was all about Freddy slashers, you know, typical 90s kid coming up. That's because that was my gateway to horror. You know, like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street scared the hell out of me as a kid, and that was my gateway to horror. But now, like we talked about Hereditary, Midsommar, X that just came out from Ty West, these psychological, you know, even Men, it's a psychological thriller, but then it does introduce the body horror into it at the end, so you get a little bit of both in there that can, you know, appetize everybody, you know, no matter what you're a fan of. So as I've gotten older, I've really leaned more towards stuff like The Witch, Robert Eggers stuff. 10-year-old Travis would never enjoy Robert Eggers. No, but 30-year-old Travis.
Listen, John Carpenter's The Thing might still be one of my favorite horror movies ever made.
40-year anniversary is coming up too.
I know.
And I've seen it in theaters because it's something I didn't get to experience.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
One of my favorites is probably John Carpenter. I watched it yesterday. John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yeah,
that's one of my. It's just something about the way that story was told. I like their play on vampires. I just liked it.
Sure.
So.
Sure. And I think, you know, especially as a kid coming up, it felt wrong. It felt like you were getting away with something when you get to watch these slashery kinds of stuff. You know, it was that, especially when you get the I don't know if you guys had the like free HBO weekends that used to.
Pop up. I remember that.
And that's when you try to get you all your R-rated stuff after your parents went to bed. You'd sneak and watch like whatever cool horror movies. I remember watching like The People Under the Stairs during that time when I shouldn't be watching this stuff, you know. So that got into it, and I think that the intelligence of psychological horror now gives me that same buzz that some of the slasher stuff could give me as a kid.
Yeah. I just don't feel like slasher stuff. To me, it's like torture porn and stuff like that. I pay it when I'm watching something like that. If by any chance I happen to see it on TV or whatnot and stop to look at it, really, I don't really put stuff like that on just to watch it. Is the appreciation of the practical effects. It's something that I find myself drawn to, especially in stuff like Alien. The first Terminator. It's just mind blowing to appreciate the artwork, you know. And it's just something that I lean more and more. The Thing. I mean, you talk about practical effects at its best. It's just something I find myself drawn to more and more. But it really takes a good story nowadays to really pull me in and want to watch it. You know?
Yeah. Somebody like David Cronenberg is a director.
Oh my God, I can't wait for this Crimes of the Future.
I know. I'm really. He's returning to his sexual body
roots. I was going to say Crash, man. Crash. I remember seeing Crash as a kid and being like, I don't know what I'm watching. I don't know what I'm watching, but I like it.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. I just saw the trailer for that movie, and I'm really looking forward to it when it comes out.
Yeah.
But D,
pass the ball to you. Take it away.
Is it time?
Take it away.
It's time.
All right.
It's time. It's beta time.
Time. Okay, so going in, first question, favorite 80s or 90s movie, or you could give us both, excluding Jurassic Park.
Thank you, D, for putting that in, because I was literally going to swoop in and be like, you can't say Jurassic Park.
Yeah, no gimmies. No gimmies here on Leveling Up with Benjamin.
Hey, we're doing a good job at making sure that people don't say what the obvious answer is. So I like that.
Yeah, it's so fun. These are the best answers, man. We get some crazy answers. It's so fun.
Dude, I'm such a fan of stuff like The Goonies and The Neverending Story.
Yes.
Classics.
That stuff just makes me feel good. The Princess Bride. Those movies, they're fun to revisit. They have that kind of like Toy Story feel where it's just that's your family and friends and you're coming back to them. So those movies really stand out for the 80s. For the 90s, I mean, it goes all the way from 91 Terminator 2, which I think is the best action movie ever made, to The Matrix in 99. So it's kind of like,
what you got?
I think Terminator 2, honestly.
I'm glad you said that.
Good choice.
In the 90s.
One scene that still gives from Terminator 1 when he's chasing them and he's doing the flip with the shotgun. That gives me goosebumps still to this day when I see that scene. So sweet. But excellent answers. Second question. Oh, and that's another thing I just wanted to piggyback on is when I watch horror movies from then now, it's a different appreciation now that you're older. It doesn't matter what I'm watching. It's just like your brain finds a way to like break down things that your 10-year-old self didn't know how to, digest properly. So that's fun too. It's almost like rediscovering the movie. And, but second question, growing up, was there anything that spooked you, scared you, and stayed with you? Whether that was a creepy lullaby, some weird doll your parents had that fell out of the attic one time.
You know what? I got jumped on Halloween when I was,
wow.
Like, I think maybe 13, 12.
Did they call you Hollywood? Hollywood.
No. I was wearing a full latex mask. I was going to Jim Carrey's The Mask.
Oh my god, my favorite Jim Carrey film of all time.
Yeah, and I remember like I was on my street, like could see my house coming down. Had my younger brother, my dad was with us, and I felt I had one, a pillowcase that got pulled from me, and I was like, where does this go? I see this little kid holding it behind me, kind of looked a little scared, and I snatched the thing back and said, hey, don't take that. That's all I said. Well, I guess he was bringing it to a group of like older brothers or something that was on a corner.
Right.
And they saw me snatch the stuff back, maybe thought that I was trying to confront their little brother. And I just got barrel rolled. I mean, I didn't even see it because I had the mask on.
Yeah.
And I just got jumped and knocked down and scraped up. And my dad, I still look around. I finally take the mask off. He's wailing on some guy. Yes. It was this very violent confrontation on what is my favorite holiday. And I was and then after that, my dad was like, all right, no more trick or treating. We're done doing this for forever. And I felt bad for my younger brother who didn't get to like another few years of Halloween.
Right.
So it was this, but that's something that I think stuck with me because it was fantasy mixed with violent reality.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
On this holiday that we're supposed to be scared of, and so something about that experience I think stuck me, or at least shaped.
That's an 80s film in itself, right?
I love it. Yeah, sounds like it.
Oh, man.
He went home. He was like, I wish these kids never existed. He did the little ritual. His hand in the closet. You never saw them kids again, did you?
Oh, snap. That was the last time
that's my real origin story.
That's the origin story. Hey, that's the first time that we finish an interview with the origin story at the end.
Yes.
Oh my god. But no.
2 points to Gryffindor.
But D-Stick, thank you so much for coming up here and joining us on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. It was awesome talking to you. And before we let you go, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you at.
Yes. Thanks so much for having me, guys. This has been a real treat. You can find me on Instagram, Darren Bailey 17. That's DarrenBailey 17. Twitter I don't use very much, but it's Darren_Bailey. And then Facebook.com/actor Darren Bailey. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Trav.
And shout out to Deneen Melody. I think that's the reason I'm here.
Hey!
Yeah.
I'm going to make the final plug. You can check out our interview with Deneen Melody. It is on YouTube and it is on the podcast. And she's an awesome person, and she's a friend of the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast. And when we interviewed her, we weren't giving out breadsticks yet. So, yeah, I got to give her some breadsticks, too.
Don't listen to that D-Stick.
Everybody gets breadsticks.
He's making this list, and we just can't.
And I'm checking it twice. But, Trav, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you at.
That's right. I'm on Instagram at ZK Audio. I'm also on the Twitter at TravioSZK, where I'm also on Letterboxd, ranking and rating my daily movie watches. And as incredible as Ben was on the other spectrum, your boy watched Firestarter, and it was not so incredible.
I thought you was going to say senior year.
No, John Carpenter did the score for Firestarter.
But that's the best part of it.
I don't know why.
I bet you.
I don't know why, but it, probably the best part of the movie. So
I'm sure. The hell of a composer. Yeah, you can find me at rebellious_D23 at Instagram.com. And Banks, if they need a hero on Halloween night, going back to back with their dad, where can they find?
Back to back. You can find me at Hero Benjamin Banks at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you again, everybody, for watching this interview. Make sure that you check out some more interviews that we have here on the channel, along with reviews and reaction videos. Check out our podcast where we have brand new episodes every Tuesday. The link is down below in the description. And then the video of that episode is up here on YouTube on Friday. Like I always say, keep that pinky up. Stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.